You are now joining Children of the Watch. I'm your host, Alex Maxwell. I'm flying solo on this May 4th for right now. We couldn't get the schedules lined up between me and Mac to do this trailer breakdown, so it's just going to be me. But I have talked with Mac about the trailer. He watched it. He loved it. This is actually our second episode today. This is not the first episode that we've recorded today for May the 4th. We actually did a history of Obi-Wan's entire life from his birth on Stewjon all the way to A New Hope. And we just broke down everything that you might need to know about Obi-Wan Kenobi in that. But that's neither here or there right now. What we're here to talk about right now is the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer that dropped this morning. I'm going to break down every single frame, give you my thoughts and just general reactions to the trailer, and just kind of talk through with you guys about what this could mean for the show. In terms of like giving us something new, it gave us a lot of new shots, but I don't know if it really changed like our perception of what the show is going to be. That first trailer really set the tone for what Obi-Wan Kenobi will be, and this one just adds to it. What I really like about this trailer, it just adds to that layer to it a little bit. So this is going to be a lot of fun, just breaking down everything that we saw in that trailer and just deciphering what it could mean. But before we do that, let's do a little business real quick. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at COT Watch to join in the fun over there. It's been a lot of fun all day for May the 4th. And so you can follow us over there, or you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/The Mandalorian Watch. You can get access to our Discord and all the bonus episodes that we have over on the Discord or on the Patreon. It's a lot of fun. Just for $2 a month, you can get access to that. We've also done a commentary track for The Phantom Menace, Attack the Clones, and now we're about to do The Revenge of the Sith as we get closer. So make sure you're over there for that, because it's a great way to prepare for Obi-Wan Kenobi. But without further ado, I think we should just jump right in. This is what you guys are here for. This is what I want to do. I just want to break down everything in that trailer. And again, in case you're just now joining us, Mac did not get to join us just because some scheduling stuff, work. We both have jobs, full-time jobs on top of the podcast. So sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. But he loved the trailer. It blew his mind as well. But let's jump into it. So the trailer breakdown, we start off with the Lucasfilm logo dissolving away, and then we cut to a transport zooming through some very gloomy looking clouds. At first, I thought this might be Nur when I was first watching the trailer, but it emerges out of the clouds towards a huge city, and I'm not really sure what city this could be. It could be Dayu. It could be Coruscant. I'm not really sure. It would be really interesting if it were Coruscant. I do think that we are going to see Coruscant in this show, whether in a building or outside of Coruscant. I do think we're going to see Coruscant because it's the Imperial Center, right? It's where the Empire is located. It's their home. It's where the Emperor is. I kind of suspect that the Emperor will be in this show, or at least his presence will be felt. So we see that transport zooming towards the huge city. Again, it could be Coruscant. It could be Dayu. And then we open back up on stormtroopers marching through the streets of Dayu, following the fifth brother. And we hear Obi-Wan's voice say, "They're coming." Number one, I love that. I love that. I love the fact that Obi-Wan is hiding, right? Like that suggests like, okay, we need to stay hidden. They're coming. We need to watch out for them. We fade to black, and then we open back up on the Grand Inquisitor emerging from his ship with the third sister, Reva, and the fifth brother right behind him. This is the shot from it if you're watching on the YouTube. What I really love about this shot, they're on Tatooine, but the Grand Inquisitor has a cape. That's new. He kind of reminds me of Gideon a little bit. And I just really love how the people on the sides are just frozen with fear. They're not moving. They're just watching whatever's going down here on Tatooine. And I'm sure it kind of feels like Tatooine probably doesn't get a lot of Imperial visitors, right? Like they're probably, if they're getting Empire, it's just your standard stormtroopers. These guys look legit. If they show up to your hometown on a planet that's considered a backwater planet, you're probably going to be frozen with fear too. And I just love how everyone's lined up on the sides of the buildings in Tatooine, watching them emerge from their ship. And the Grand Inquisitor's got that cape on. That's something we did not see him wear in Star Wars Rebels. This is something new. It kind of reminds me of Moff Gideon a little bit. And then we hear Obi-Wan's voice say, "Stay hidden." And then he fades to black, and we open up on the fifth brother examining a crowd on Tatooine, and we can see his circular lightsaber on his back. And what I love is, you might not have caught it, but Owen is in the crowd watching. So he's like come face to face with the Inquisitors. He's seeing what's going on. And it's really, really cool. Obviously, we'll get something between Obi-Wan and Owen even in this trailer. But what I really like is Owen is seeing the threat that is coming and could affect Luke. I don't think they're there to actually find Luke Skywalker or even to find Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think what we talked about in the first trailer breakdown, I think is still maintaining here. They're looking for another Jedi. I think another Jedi has come to hide on Tatooine because it's a backwater planet, and they're looking for another Jedi that just happened to go to Tatooine. And of course, Owen sees all this, and what's going to go through his head? They're endangering Luke. Okay. So then we hear Obi-Wan say, "Or we will not survive." So if we put that phrase all together, he says, "They're coming, stay hidden, or we will not survive." Who is he talking to? Who could Obi-Wan be talking to? I think it's whoever that other Jedi is. If there is another Jedi hiding on Tatooine, I think that's who he's talking to. And I think it's that other Jedi that gets Obi-Wan into the fight, that gets him kind of rolling in the series to get back involved with everything that's going on. It's this Jedi he's talking to. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here. And then we fade to black and open back up on the Grand Inquisitor looking at someone kneeling before him in some Tatooine market. We actually saw that shot from the first trailer. I will say, when I paused that shot, something seemed a little different in that shot. I don't know if it's the person who was kneeling. They changed that or something digitally. It looked just a little odd to me. So that's something that maybe you should go back and check yourself too, and see, maybe, am I just seeing things, or did it look a little bit different to you guys? But that shot was the same one from the first one, but something seemed a little bit different to me. Maybe like it was altered. Maybe they don't want us to see who was kneeling in front of the Grand Inquisitor, but it's basically the same shot from the last teaser. But then we quickly cut to Reva marching through a lineup of people on Tatooine. And again, so like, we're starting to get some sort of sense they are looking for someone on Tatooine. But again, I don't think that it's either Obi-Wan or Luke. I think it's another Jedi, and they've basically lined everybody up in what I guess is Mos Eisley. I think this is Mos Eisley. And they've lined up the streets, and the Inquisitors and Stormtroopers are marching up and down, checking and looking at who is there. That's got to be a scary thing, especially for Owen. You know, Owen is witnessing everything that's happening here. That's got to be a little nerve-wracking for Owen Lars, because that's going to disrupt his way of life and endanger Luke Skywalker, which he treats as a son. You know, that's a son to Owen. And So that's pretty cool. We see the Luke Skywalker shot again of him pretending to pod race or fly with Obi-Wan watching. And then we fade out of that into a brand new scene. And I love this scene. This might be my favorite scene from the trailer. And it's Owen standing across from Obi-Wan in a market on Tatooine. Again, I think this is Mos Eisley. Owen says, "Leave us alone." So from the get-go, Owen doesn't want anything to do with Obi-Wan. And I kind of love that. That's very consistent with what we know from A New Hope. And Obi-Wan says, when the time comes, he must be trained, referring to Luke Skywalker. And then Owen says, like you trained his father. Ouch. Ouch. I just love this whole exchange. One of the 5 things that we talked about that we hope to see in Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of them was Owen Lars being really cool. I think Owen Lars is being kind of cool here. I agree. Obi-Wan should train Luke Skywalker, but Owen's being like a good dad to Luke of like, no. You are not doing that. I'm going to take care of him. And that's a side of Owen we haven't seen before, because what we see of him in A New Hope, all he cares about is the harvest, right? Like making sure they get everything done in time for the harvest. And then maybe next year Luke can go to the Imperial Academy. And he's just more of a foil to Luke getting off the planet, right? Like he's not that big of a character in terms of like, I never thought of Owen as a father figure to Luke. But what I really love about this scene, and what hopefully the show does, it shows that Owen does become a father figure to Luke Skywalker. He's the guy who raised him. And I just think that's really, really cool. It's a new side to Owen that we've never seen before. And I'm really excited to dive into that. So that whole exchange was really, really, really cool. Everybody in the chat, I'm doing a YouTube live if you're listening on the on the podcast later. And this is some of the comments from the YouTube. Yes, I love that part. I can't wait for the Owen Obi-Wan conflict. The conflict between Owen and Ben is so interesting. I want a lot more of it. It's especially interesting considering he's the one who literally gave Luke to Owen. That's from Eric. Yeah, that is a really interesting point, right? Like Obi-Wan could like claim like, no, listen, I'm going to train him. I was just giving him to you because you're family. I am going to train him. So there's that interesting dynamic of like, what's going to go on with Luke. And I just love that. I really want to see some scenes between Owen and Luke and what that dynamic is like throughout the series of like, is Owen a little hard on Luke, or do they have fun together? Those type of things. I'm real interested to see that side of it. So again, Owen ends with like you trained his father, which is a direct jab at Obi-Wan about Anakin. What we don't know about from this series is, are they aware that Anakin survived and became Darth Vader? Now, Obi-Wan knows Vader's name. We know that from Revenge of the Sith, because in that hologram, Anakin kneels to the Emperor Palpatine and he says, "Well done, Lord Vader." So Obi-Wan knows that's his like Sith name, Darth Vader. But does he know that he's actually still alive? It's been 10 years since Revenge of the Sith. Is Darth Vader a public figure, basically? Does the galaxy at large know about Darth Vader? Do they know that he's kind of the enforcer of the Empire? Or is he more of a behind-the-scenes guy in this time period? And then maybe after this series, he becomes more well-known. I don't know. I think it would be more interesting if Obi-Wan did not know Anakin was still alive and he learns that in this series. I think that would be way more interesting for the series, in my opinion, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So that's definitely a jab to Obi-Wan, like you trained his father. Obi-Wan grimaces. I love the exchange. And again, it shows Owen really cares about Luke Skywalker. I love that. We cut to black and it says streaming May 27th. And then we open back up on what I suspect is Nur at the Fortress Inquisitorius. And Reva marches through with purpose. She's marching towards something. And we hear a voice. It's an Inquisitor who speaks, but we're not really sure who the Inquisitor is. My guess that this voice is the fifth brother. And again, we've covered all the Inquisitors in our Inquisitors Explained episode. Make sure you check that out on the podcast as well. And the voice says, "You still want Kenobi." Then we see Reva arriving to a table with other Inquisitors. The fifth brother is there, some Imperial officers, a new Inquisitor that we saw from the last trailer, but we don't really know who she is. She almost kind of looks like she is a Nalatin, which is like Kit Fisto's species, but it's not the same, I don't think. Her head tails are a little shorter. But they're looking down at this table, some sort of display on the table, like they're planning something. And there's all sorts of Imperial officers around too. It kind of looks like it's a moon on the table. I'm not really sure what that is. My guess is that maybe there's some Jedi hiding there. I'm not really sure, but it's really, really interesting. If you pause right there, it does look like a moon or maybe an asteroid that they're looking at right there. And we get a new shot of that new Inquisitor with the fifth brother and then Reva, who is the third sister. So they're planning something. And then we hear the voice say, "He's gone." Then we fade into the Tatooine desert and Obi-Wan riding his Eopie. And then we fade to black, and then it says exclusively on Disney Plus. And then we see 3 probe-looking ships or droids launch out from the top of the Fortress Inquisitorius, and they shoot out across space. And then we hear Reva say, "Maybe you've been looking in the wrong places." And we actually see Reva on the rooftops of Daiyu observing a gun battle taking place across from her on the rooftops. And I think this is that same sort of shots that we saw in the first trailer where we saw some gunfire being exchanged on the rooftops. It's that same sequence. We cut to black and it says experience the 6-part event. And then we open up back on a wanted poster of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's from Revenge of the Sith. And the Arabesh reads, "Wanted Obi-Wan Kenobi, offenses high treason." And then the bounty says, "Upon capture." Number one, I love this because it kind of makes it seem like the Jedi Order takes yearbook photos. Like, where else did they get this photo? Because it looks like Obi-Wan is posing for it. But also, they're putting a bounty out on Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it's not just like the Inquisitors after Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's also bounty hunters. So we get a little bit of that underworld vibe too. And just a short plug for the episode that dropped on our feed today on the YouTube and the podcast. We did the secret history of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And you might know everything there is to know about Obi-Wan Kenobi, but not everybody does. And in one of the Clone Wars arcs, Obi-Wan actually infiltrated the underworld. We talk about that a little bit on the podcast. It's a crazy arc, but it's kind of cool to see Obi-Wan in the underworld again coming into contact. And there's a wanted poster. It'd be really cool if you see stuff. I know Galaxy's Edge takes place in the sequel trilogy, but it'd be really cool if they had stuff like this at Galaxy's Edge or around Disney World to help promote Obi-Wan Kenobi coming out. That would be really cool. And then we hear Reva say, "I want every lowlife and bounty hunter to squeeze him." And then we get some really quick shots that happen really quickly. One of the big shots that we see is 4LOM or 4LOM shooting at Obi-Wan on the rooftops. So this is a droid bounty hunter. He's one of the bounty hunters that we see in Empire Strikes Back in the lineup. So that's really cool that we're coming back to him. We're seeing him in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Makes you kind of wonder, is there any other bounty hunters that we're going to see in Obi-Wan Kenobi? Could a young Boba Fett be hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi? I don't know. That would be very interesting. Could a young Mando, Din Djarin, be hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But if you're getting into the underworld stuff, there's always a chance. There's always a chance. But we do get 4 LOM, which is really, really cool. I love that. Maybe Bosk. Yeah, I see someone in the comments say maybe Bosk could show up. That would be really cool. That would be cool. So we get that shot of 4 LOM shooting at Obi-Wan on the rooftops. Obi-Wan fires back. He's using a gun. I'm sure he's very upset by that because he hates using guns. He's a very civilized person. He uses lightsabers. So then we see Obi-Wan fighting hand-to-hand with 2 people in the streets. And one of them is a Zabrak, which I'm sure excites Mac to no end. It's cool to see that happening. And Obi-Wan's a good fist fighter. Like, he's a good fighter. We see that a lot in the Clone Wars. He's got Fist of Beskar. Like, he can punch straight Beskar and knock a Mandalorian out with his fists in the Clone Wars. So these 2 people have no chance fighting Obi-Wan in the street. And I love that he's using a gun. He's using his hands to fight, and he's not using his lightsaber because he doesn't want to give away that he's a Jedi yet. So, like, it's going to make that moment way more impactful when he actually pulls his lightsaber out and ignites it for the first time in the show, because he's trying to hide the fact that he's a Jedi. That's going to be super cool. And that's going to be really enjoyable when he does that for the very first time, is ignite that lightsaber. Part of me wonders he might not ignite the lightsaber until he comes into confrontation with Darth Vader. Like, I could see a scenario where he's trying not to ignite his lightsaber even around other Inquisitors, right? Because that's just going to draw more attention to him. So just keeping that lightsaber off until he actually fights Vader, that could be really cool. That could be a very powerful moment in the show. Kind of reminds me of Star Wars Rebels a little bit. The same situation that we see Kanan in that first little thing of Star Wars Rebels. He's using his gun most of the time, but then at the very end of the episode, when it's time to pull out that lightsaber, he ignites the blue and he pulls out that lightsaber. So that could be a very cool scene that we get in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So after he fights these 2 people, and one of them being a Zabrak, we cut to a shuttle flying towards the fortress. It's kind of flying really fast, kind of crooked almost towards the Fortress Inquisitorius. It made me wonder, has this shuttle been hijacked? Is this Obi-Wan? Is this somebody else flying to infiltrate the fortress? Which kind of follows the same sort of storyline that we get in Jedi Fallen Order. That's okay. That's cool. It's fine. It's whatever. That's actually just part of Star Wars. Infiltrating, dressing up like somebody and infiltrating a base is just Star Wars. So that's not a big deal if that's what the case is. But then we get an awesome shot of Reva marching out with her blade ignited, and 2 Purge troopers are behind her. So I'm going to stop and explain what a Purge trooper is, because we haven't actually talked about this on the podcast. And if you're not familiar, a Purge trooper is like 1 level under the Inquisitors. They also hunt Jedi. They're like stormtroopers that are specialized in Jedi hunting and fighting and capturing and killing Jedi. So they kind of look a little similar to they look similar to Death Troopers in one sense, but they have their own unique look as well. But the helmet of these Purge Troopers, they look a little bit different. Like they've changed the helmets since Jedi Fallen Order, and I love that. That's really, really cool that Purge Troopers are in this as well. So again, if you haven't played Jedi Fallen Order, I think it would be a good time to play it if you haven't played it. If you can't play it, maybe watch like a movie version of it on YouTube, because it's a really good story. I think you would enjoy it. It's a good Star Wars story. So we see some Purge troopers behind Reva, and then they're flanked by stormtroopers behind the Purge troopers. Kind of looks like to me Reva's actually saying something. If you look closely at her mouth is moving, but we don't get what she's saying right there. So she's definitely talking to someone as she's marching out. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. And then we cut to Obi-Wan taking out some stormtroopers on Tatooine. There's a probe droid destroyed behind him. 2 stormtroopers are laid out. Kind of looks like that work transport from the very first trailer is right beside him. So it makes me wonder, is Obi-Wan Kenobi discovered on Tatooine? Or is he intervening on behalf of somebody else to save them from that work transport? Is it possible he's trying to get that other Jedi, if there is another Jedi in Tatooine, off, and he takes them with that work transport, and then they're ambushed by stormtroopers and a probe droid? I don't know, but it's really interesting. He wrestles a blaster away and then he fires it. But then we hear Reva yelling, "You can't run, Obi-Wan," which is really interesting. Like, of course she's going to know his name because she's hunting him, but the way that she says it kind of implies that she knows him a little bit. She might know him. So that's really interesting to me. You can't run, Obi-Wan. And then we get a quick shot of the droid from the first trailer with a blaster. Looks to be fighting some stormtroopers. So this must be a good droid on the side of the good guys. And then we get a shot of Reva deflecting bolts with her lightsaber. And then we get a closer look at her lightsaber. Mac and I had kind of discussed maybe she has a different lightsaber than everybody else. It's not that. She has the same sort of lightsaber. It's just the hoop. There's just the one hoop. They can kind of close in on each other. So that's why we were getting confused of what it kind of looked like. So she's deflecting some bolts. So that means someone's firing on her. Again, I think this is happening inside the Fortress Inquisitorius. So it makes me think that at some point in the series, maybe they're going to be infiltrating that. And then we get a shot of Kamal Nanjiani, and he's giving me some Jedi vibes. He's given me some Jedi vibes for sure. And he looks scared. He looks like he's trying to hide. I kind of hope that he is a Jedi. Number one, I love that it's him. I was really worried they were going to make him the droid and make him like the comedic relief. And he could still be a comedic relief because he's really good at comedy. If you watch the Eternals, like I thought he was the best thing about the Eternals. But I really am glad that he's not a droid. I'm glad that it's him. But he kind of looks like a Jedi, like he's wearing Jedi robes. I would hope that he wouldn't still be wearing Jedi robes if he's being hunted as a Jedi. But he looks scared. He's giving me some Jedi vibes for sure. And then we get a quick shot of a new little droid in a black gloved hand. That was a really cool, if you go back and you just pause it right there, it is a little droid. And then we get a quick shot of Reva running on Daiyu as a transport rises. And then she points her saber and yells, "You can't escape him," which I assume she's yelling at Obi-Wan, right? The line before that was, "You can't run, Obi-Wan. You can't escape him." Of course, him being, I'm going to guess, Darth Vader, not the Grand Inquisitor. I think she's talking about Darth Vader. And then the money shot of the trailer, we see an arm being attached to a body. Oh my gosh. Darth Vader. Darth Vader. And what I love about this shot is that it probably confirms we're going to see Hayden Christensen without the armor, but all scarred up as Darth Vader, as Anakin Skywalker before the armor's put on him. And that's really, really cool. So we see the arm being attached to him. Kind of reminds you a little bit of that scene from Rogue One when he's in the Bacta tank and it starts to lower a little bit. He's just in there without his metal arms and legs. So this is probably after him being in a Bacta tank, and they attach all that to him. So that's really, really cool. We get a quick shot of the fifth brother, the new Inquisitor, and an officer marching through what may be the fortress, Inquisitorius. They look really angry, like they're discussing something. And then we see stormtroopers and purge troopers raise their blasters, and just out of the shot, you can see Reva is just out of the frame. Just a little bit. And then we get a really quick shot of Obi-Wan looking up, and then another of the chest plate being inserted into Anakin. I didn't know that happened. Like, I didn't know, like, I thought that was more of an outer layer thing. It's actually being inserted into his body, which just tells you what kind of pain Darth Vader is constantly in. Like, every time he has to go out, Darth Vader's in pain. He's being attached everywhere, but then that chest piece is going into the front of his body, which is crazy. And then the lights blink on. And then we hear the breathing. That was just so, so cool. We hear the breathing. And then we see a shot of Obi-Wan standing alone. And slowly he opens his eyes. And this could be just the trailer, the way that it's edited, but it makes you think that, like, Darth Vader might be right behind him. Darth Vader might be right behind him. So we're definitely getting that confrontation between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. I think they're really trying to prepare us for that, because we've always assumed that the last time Obi-Wan saw Anakin was in Revenge of the Sith. Because of that line, it's a presence I haven't felt since, and then Darth Vader marches away. Well, it's a presence I haven't felt since the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It's not Revenge of the Sith anymore. So I think we just got to wrap our heads around that if we haven't already. The two are going to be confronting one another. Some posters came out today as well with the trailer, and it shows Obi-Wan and Vader fighting in the posters and stuff. One of the posters, Vader has the high ground on a rock. So I think this is going to be one of those things where it's like best 2 out of 3. And I think Vader's going to win this bout. So I think Obi-Wan won the first one. Vader's going to win this one. You can argue either Vader or Obi-Wan won the third one, depending on your point of view. So yeah, it was a really good trailer. It didn't really give us like any new, like anything new, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's happening in the show. Right? Nothing like that. It just added to what we already knew about the show from the first teaser. And honestly, I kind of hope that there's no more footage. I kind of hope there's no more TV spots or trailers or anything. We're just 20 something days away from the actual premiere of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I kind of want to keep it like with what we got right now and just enjoy it. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So, I'm going to take a look at some of the comments before I get off here. This is a bonus episode because we already had an episode premiere today for May the 4th, The Secret History of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So make sure you check that out. It gives you everything you need to know about Obi-Wan's life, some things that maybe you had no idea about Obi-Wan. And we talk about all that, how it could impact the series. So make sure you check that out. But let's look at some of the comments before I get off here on this YouTube live. Christy says, I think she's definitely talking about Vader because Vader was kind of the theme of the trailer. I agree. Between that and Owen's comment, and then ending with Vader in the suit. Yeah, Vader was, even though he was just at the end, he was felt the entire trailer for sure. Sung King, aka Han from Fast and Furious, is a good actor. He's the fifth brother. Absolutely. He's playing the fifth brother. That's really exciting. I kind of hope that we get a name for the fifth brother, just besides just the fifth brother. And maybe we get a name for the Grand Inquisitor too. And then we got a question that says, how soon do you expect we will see Vader in the series? That's a great question. I think by the third episode. We'll see Vader. So kind of that midpoint, because it's just 6 episodes. I think by the third one, we will see Darth Vader. You got to start setting that up a little bit. And you brought Hayden Christensen back. I hope that we see it before the third episode, honestly. It'd be cool if maybe at the end of the first episode, we see Darth Vader. I don't know. And then Guinness Lumberjack asks, Mace Windu, question mark? No, probably not. Unless it's a flashback of the Clone Wars. I doubt it. Omar asks or says, we're probably going to see Qui-Gon Jinn. I agree. I think we'll see Qui-Gon Jinn again. Benjamin says, when will we see Max Rebo? You know, if 4 LOMs in it and the Underworld Bounty Hunters, maybe Max Rebo is on Daiyu doing a gig. I don't know. Christy says, are there flashbacks? Do you think we'd see Anakin or Vader first? Ooh, I would say Anakin. If there's flashbacks, I would say maybe we would see Anakin first. So I don't know. This is a lot of fun. Mac hates that he couldn't be here. Just the timing of the scheduling, trying to get this out. We couldn't do it because we both have full-time jobs, but hopefully you enjoyed that quick little trailer breakdown. There wasn't a lot of new stuff in terms of things to think about, but it was a really, really great trailer with some fun new shots in there to think about and discuss. And that's actually what I want to do. Is I want to make sure that you guys call into our voicemail hotline, because our next episode probably won't be next week. We'll probably have next week off unless something huge comes out. But we want to make sure that we have enough time for people to get in voicemails, because we want to hear your thoughts and your predictions based on the 2 trailers, all the speculation. What do you think is going to happen in Obi-Wan? What's your hopes and dreams for Obi-Wan? What are you nervous about for Obi-Wan? So make sure you call into our voicemail hotline, which is 205-259-6675. Again, that's 205-259-6675. Check out our voicemail hotline. Call in. Let us know what you're excited about, and we'll do kind of a final prediction show for Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we won't have an episode probably next week unless something huge happens with Obi-Wan Kenobi or any of the other Star Wars TV shows. Just kind of let it rest with these 2 episodes we did today, and then have a voicemail hotline episode just to prepare final thoughts and stuff. So make sure you call in. We want to get plenty of voicemails in. Again, that's 205-259-6675. 205-259-6675. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and Twitter at COT Watch. Make sure you like the video on YouTube, and please rate and review us over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. A 5-star review goes a long way in helping us out. We love you guys, and as always, keep the watch.